Call to order the regular City Council, Spark City Council meeting of Monday, April 13th, 2015, with a roll call, please.
Mayor Martini?
Here.
Council members Ratty? Okay, absent at this point. She should be calling in. Lawson?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Bybee? Here. Schmidt?
Here.
City Attorney Adams?
Here.
And City Manager Driscoll?
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Okay, if you'd all stand for the invocation, Tom White, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Welcome, sir.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful that we can meet together this day in this City Council meeting, and we ask a special blessing on our Mayor and City Council, that they will be able to have the wisdom and discernment necessary to conduct the business of the Council. And we pray that those who have business to present to the Council will do so with respect for our City Council and our Mayor. We ask a special blessing also on the other officers and employees of our great city, especially the police department, the fire department. Bless them and thank them. We thank them for their courage and devotion to the safety of the citizens of this great city. We ask these things, Father, and any other blessings that we might be in need of, that Thou can see that we need as a great city in the United States. And we ask this in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for those kind words, sir. If you remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, Ms. Bybee, would you lead us?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, here comes our project.
Okay, public comment. Anyone want to speak under public comment? I have some speaking cards, but those are on 9.4. Okay, seeing none, let's move along to approval of the agenda. Anybody want to take anything out of order? If not, looking for a motion. Mr. Smith.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second? Mr. Lawson.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Smith, seconded by Councilman Lawson to approve the agenda as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Aye. Display, please. Passes unanimously. Mr. Smith on the phone is an aye. Okay. Approval of the minutes, consideration possible approval of minutes of the regular Spark City Council meeting of March 23rd, 2015. Any omissions, deletions, or corrections? Not looking for a motion. Mr. Lawson.
Move to approve.
Ms. Bybee.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Lawson, seconded by Councilwoman Bybee to approve the minutes of March 23rd, 2015. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, moving on. Announcements, presentations, proclamation for Fair Housing Month. Someone here to accept this? You want to come down, please, ma'am, and then we'll, Mr. Lawson is going to read the proclamation. Is that you, Julia? Welcome. We're on 7.1, proclamation for fair housing. Go ahead, Mr. Lawson.
Okay. Whereas April 2015 marks the 47th anniversary of Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968. The Federal Fair Housing Act, which provides equal opportunity for all Americans in the sale, rental, and financing of housing, and prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, national origin. And whereas the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 added familial status to and handicap to those classes protected by Title VIII, and added a strong new rights, remedies, and monetary penalties, and judicial and administrative enforcement procedures. And whereas Nevada state law also prohibits discrimination on the basis of ancestry, sexual orientation, and gender identity and expression, and whereas it's the solemn and sworn duty of government at all levels to defend the rights of citizens and oppose housing discrimination whenever and wherever it occurs. And whereas illegal barriers to equal opportunity in housing, no matter how subtle, diminish the rights of some of our citizens, also diminishes the rights of all. Whereas the Silver State Fair Housing Council actively works to ensure equal housing opportunity for all people in Nevada to freely choose where they want and can afford to live, and the City of Sparks supports the effort of the Silver State Fair Housing Council and all other agencies pursuing fair housing. Now therefore, I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, State of Nevada, do proclaim April 2015 as Fair Housing Month.
Okay, go ahead and say it. Just give us your name for the record. Go ahead and say a few words, please.
Kate Zook, I'm the Executive Director of Silver State Fair Housing Council. It's nice to be here and see so many familiar faces and so many new faces. I've been doing this for 25 years with the City of Sparks, and I just want you all to know how much we appreciate your support. And there are those who will say, just putting out a proclamation may not mean that much, but it does mean something, and it means that you support equal housing opportunity. I am so happy to work with all of you. Your amazing staff, George, Trish, who keeps us on the straight and narrow all the time. It's a wonderful relationship, and I hope we can go for 25 more years. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate all you do. Okay, 7.2 is Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Someone here to accept this? Come on down. You brought the A-team today, huh, Chief?
About time you recognize.
You're right. It's about time to see who does all the work, right?
Yeah, if you ask us, right?
Okay, proclamation. Whereas residents of Sparks dial 911 or the communications section for help in emergencies and on a routine basis. And whereas the men and women who answer these calls gather vital information and dispatch public safety assistance, often making the difference between life and death. And whereas our emergency communications dispatchers are among the more than 500,000 telecommunications specialists who work daily to protect the public and promote public safety. And whereas our emergency communications dispatchers are the first contact for a person in crisis and are knowledgeable, highly trained employees who work closely with police, fire, and emergency medical personnel. And whereas Sparks residents enjoy a high standard of public safety and owe a great debt to the emergency communications personnel who apply their expertise in dispatching help to ensure public safety. Now, therefore, I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim April 12th through the 18th as 2015 as Public Safety Telecommunications Week, and join with the City Council in acknowledging and thanking our public safety dispatchers, David Brown, Stephanie Buck, Lisa Buckles, Shelley Burkhart, Maureen Diet, Mary Hall, Mary Holbrook, Lori Howard, Lydia McCoy, Melissa Nabong, Nancy Owens, Lisa Rose Brown, Sherry Terry, and Denise Wagner. Thank you.
Thank you. Oops. Sorry. I know we have to say our names, right? I think I've done this once before, but it's been a while. I'm Lisa Rose Brown, dispatcher for almost 11 years and trainer. Okay.
My name is Mary Holbrook, and I've been with Sparks for 7 years. I came from Reno and went to the better side a couple years ago. So,
yeah, just thank you guys for everything. We're going through a lot of changes in our center, some of which are very exciting and upgrading a lot of our technology. So thank you guys for affording us that luxury, and we'll be here next year, I hope.
we appreciate the recognition. We appreciate you taking the time to thank us for our job. We spend holidays, weekends, odd hours, and away from our families. So this is something we're passionate about, something we're here to serve the public for, and we're proud to be in this position. So thank you.
You know, from the council and myself, thank you for doing what you do. I know it's not an easy job. It's very difficult, and you guys do a wonderful job and help keeping the city safe. So I appreciate that. Did you have anything you want to say, Chief?
These ladies covered it all. I just appreciate the work that they do and you guys supporting our communication center. Also, Teresa Wiley, our administration division manager, sitting back here, she's the one that supervises this group, fine group of employees that we have.
Any other comments? Thanks, ladies. Appreciate it. Okay, next is Kiwanis International Day. Who's going to come on up, Ellen? In a cast of thousands. Okay, come on up.
And gets that chair. Zach.
Okay, proclamation. Whereas Kiwanis International is one of the largest service organizations in the world with more than 600,000 members of all ages and abilities in more than 80 nations. Whereas the members of Kiwanis Club of Downtown Sparks are devoted to improving the world one child and one community at a time by seeking primacy to the human and spiritual rather than the material values of life. And whereas in addition to improving lives, Kiwanis Club members promote the development of community leaders, positive role models, intercultural understanding and cooperation, and opportunities for fellowship, personal growth, professional development, and community service. Whereas the first Kiwanis Club started in service in Detroit, Michigan, USA in 1915, and Kiwanis International celebrates the centennial anniversary of the founding of the Detroit Kiwanis Club No. 1. And whereas the service provided by the Kiwanis Club of Downtown Sparks will continue to have a positive impact on our community and citizens. Whereas, now therefore I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim retroactively and recognize March 29, 2015 as Kiwanis International Day, and hereby call upon all citizens of Sparks and Washoe County thereof to render support to the members of this organization and to make themselves aware of Kiwanis International, whose members this day are providing a meaningful service to our homes, schools, and community. Thank you.
I'll go first. I'm Ellen Jacobson from the Kiwanis Club of Downtown Sparks. On behalf of our committees who work closely with everybody from Parks and Rec to events to the police departments to the fire departments who collect bikes for us, and I can't even tell you all the ways that without the City of Sparks we would not be the organization we are today. I want to thank all of you for making our club the success it is in Sparks. And I want to turn the microphone over to Art Hakes, who's our regional lieutenant governor, and let him say something, too.
As the lieutenant governor, I have a territory that goes from Elko to Susanville and then includes Reno and Sparks. Out of all of the clubs that I have, Sparks is the champ. And it's really your association with our Kiwanis Club and Sparks that really makes it happen. They get a lot done in the community and everybody benefits. And thank you very much for your help and cooperation.
Thank you, folks. We appreciate all you do in the city. Okay, 7.4, the Run for Education and Partners in Education. We have someone here to do this? Come on down, folks.
Good afternoon. Mayor Martini, City Council members, thank you for inviting us. I'm Jim Frommer. I'm a CPA, my day job, for a couple more days here, but also president of the Education Alliance of Washoe County. And with me is Kendall Inskip, our executive director, and then Sean McCaffrey, our community coordinator. So what is the Education Alliance? The Education Alliance is a non-political 501c3 community partnership throughout Washoe County, Northern Nevada. Our mission is accomplished through a board and committee to basically improve educational outcomes, and that takes on many different forms, as we'll try to explain here shortly. We've been around since the mid-1980s in various forms. We were the Education Collaborative. We were partners in education, and about 4 or 5 years ago, we kind of combined everything and became the Education Alliance. We do have 2 Washoe County School District employees, but we have a board of directors of about 25 people from the community. It also includes the 3 CEOs of UNR, TMCC, and the school district. So we basically try to bring the public and private sectors together to figure out how we can help each other to improve our mission, or fulfill our mission. We do have more than 45 community volunteers that serve on the various committees. I think our theme for today really is advocating for improved educational outcomes and community engagement. So one of our committees is the P16 Advocacy Council, which is very strongly represented from the non-education group, because the ideas for what is career and college ready comes from employer sides that you all come from, as well as you know what kind of employees you need, either for the old economy or for the new economy. And so we try to work with the education community to initiate programs that will improve the outcomes for our high school graduates, whether they go on to a career or on to college. Just as important either way. We engage community members through our various initiatives. One of such initiatives is the Data Profile, which we've been doing for 15 years now, and as the kind of an independent organization, we bring together the school district data people, the UNR data people, and the TMCC data people, and each have their own perspectives and missions, but we basically bring them together, bring their data together, and then tell a story that hopefully lay people like us can then understand about the outcomes, the good things, the bad things, and places where we can all assist them to improve. We also have focused tremendously over the last 4 years in defining what college and career ready really means, and we were sort of doing it before the resurgence in our economy, so we started this when we were in the bottom, and so it's extremely timely, the work that we've done, to basically get information from all of you type of people, employers, as well as the educators, as to what does college and career really mean. So we broke it into, we call the 4 R's, the right skills, the right classes, the right diploma, and the right test scores, and then distilling it down so that parents and students in 7th through 10th grades can understand what they have to do to be career or college ready when they graduate from high school. So that's been a big initiative of ours. And then right now we're actually working on developing a financial literacy curriculum for a half-unit class in the school district. There is some actually legislation in Carson City that's addressing the need for financial literacy classes. So again, I think we're extremely timely, and we'll basically bring together people from the business community and educators to develop meaningful curriculum that will truly teach students about financial literacy.
I'm Kendall Inskip. I'm the Executive Director of the Education Alliance. And really the key words that define what the Education Alliance really is about are community partnership. Because you all know, and research shows that really children are more likely to do well in school and in life, basically, if we as community leaders, parents and families, employers, join together and share that responsibility to help them succeed. So the Education Alliance hosts a couple of events to do just that, embracing that concept of shared responsibility. The first is the Run for Education, which is a fun family event that raises money directly impacting students. And I want to thank you, Mayor Martini, for attending last year in October and addressing the group. We had 3,200 runners there, and 2,300 of them were students from about 74 schools. The funding that came back to the schools include about $2,000 per school for health and nutrition activities, which, as you may or may not know, there is not a budget in elementary schools right now for PE. So we want to put that money back into those schools. This year, it's October 18th, 2015, again in front of Shields, the Legends at Sparks Marina, and I hope I see every one of you there. I personally invite you to attend. It's a great event. We have more than 300 volunteers, and it's huge, and we appreciate the opportunity in Sparks to host the event for the entire Washoe County. To date, we've raised almost $1.4 million that went directly back to schools. And really, the run isn't possible without our generous community donating money. They contribute cash. We had in-kind of about $60,000 for the run last year, and we figure about 8,000 people come to this event. You know, if you count parents and families, uncles and aunts. So really, it is a community-wide event. The second event is Principal for Day, and I want to personally invite each one of you to join us. You'll shadow a principal for half of the day, and you kind of experience the energy and the power of being in a school, and of course the amazing students kind of feeling what they go through each day. And then you in turn, the principals in turn will shadow you to experience how hard you work as well. So kind of get them off school grounds to experience what it is the business community is experiencing and working hard. So later that day, we all come together. Renown is a great sponsor. We host everyone where we kind of share that day's excitement. And the ultimate goal, again, is to forge a partnership. I sure hope you guys can join us that day. So that kind of leads us to another vital community partnership that the main program that the Ed Alliance hosts and sponsors is the Partners in Education. And Sean's going to help share with us that great opportunity with you.
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. So my name is Sean McCaffrey, and thank you. So Kendall talks a lot about partnerships, and what we do is we meet. It's very simple. Every school in the school district, every principal, identify what their needs are, prioritize those needs, and because their teachers and principals don't really have the time or the resources to go out in the community and solicit or source those necessary needs that they have, whether it be for volunteers, funding, or other things, expertise requests, whatever it is. So we do that for them. We meet with every principal, identify what those needs are, and we take that compelling ask to the business community and specifically request them to partner in very specific ways to help reach student achievement. And it might surprise you, it surprised me this morning doing the numbers, and there are 21 elementary schools in Sparks, there are 4 middle schools in Sparks, and 3 high schools in Sparks, for a grand total of almost 18,000 students right here in Sparks. And so why are we here today? Well, we have successful relationships with the City of Reno and Washoe County. Washoe County Manager John Slaughter, they've adopted Glenn Duncan Elementary School as a STEM school. They've done things like secured a grant for $75,000 for a community garden. They bring students over from their elementary school over to the county compound where students are able to see what goes on in a daily activity and kind of broaden their horizons a little bit about what opportunities exist once they get done with their schooling. And really, again, bridge that relationship and hopefully get that light bulb turned on to see the world beyond their school and beyond their neighborhood. And so what we'd love for the city of Sparks to do is consider partnering with one, if not multiple schools, do the same thing. It doesn't have to be financial involvement, but at least maybe open the doors up and share your expertise with various schools and various opportunities, whether it be lead a project-based learning activity or expertise in the classroom and things like that. There's a lot of expertise within a city that we can leverage for positive outcomes in the school. And so we're doing a lot of those things right now. Home Depot is another example, Spanish Springs. We're creating little ecosystems. And Spanish Springs Home Depot, there's 9 schools that feed into that one store. And we've asked them to adopt all 9 schools between Wingfield Springs, Spanish Springs, and Northeast Sparks to lead in whether it be small maintenance projects or community gardens or expertise. And they're doing just that. So we're taking this, Partners in Ed has been around for a long time. We're taking a different look at it to make sure the relationships are more impactful, to really drive student achievement, and so that we're kind of raising the bar for student equity and achievement in our community. So that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, so all that we've talked about briefly, whether it's the P16 Council of Educators and Public coming together to think about each other's perspectives and develop things that improve educational outcomes, or the Principal for a Day, where I'm going with the principal and then the principal comes to my business, to experience each other's perspectives and learn from each other. And then as Sean was talking about the community engagement, once again about bringing resources to the schools, but also giving the staff and the principals an understanding that there's people out in the community who want to help. It's just a matter of connecting the two dots, if you will. And so that's a lot of what Sean does. And so that basically epitomizes what the Ed Alliance is about. It's a hybrid organization. It's the best group I've ever been involved with because everybody just wants to help educational outcomes. So, with that, we do have forward. Yeah, there we go. That's good. Thank you. So a couple asks. As Sean said, we'd love for the council to become a partner at a school, and probably through the Kiwanis and other groups. I know that you may be involved, but we'd also ask you to contact us to specifically partner with the school. Be a Run for Education sponsor. You sort of are anyway. Mayor Martini, thank you. We shared the stage last year, and that was fun. We actually had good weather, and I thank you for that. I hope we have snow actually this year, but not on the day of the run. But if you can think about being a Run for Education sponsor, the City Sparks has always been so helpful with the policing and with the licensing and the expediency of everything that gets done. As you well know, things move very easily here, and we're very thankful for that. So, as Kendall said, participate in principal executive for a day, September 15th. And then finally, we all know each other, but we all know slightly different people, and certainly in your realm, you run into a lot of different people. If you could spread the word by introducing us to contacts who might be good partners, and then we'll take it from there. But we always it's always good to have that email or a door-opening contact, so we'd ask for that too, and we'll follow up occasionally here. So that's the Education Alliance, and do you have any questions of us?
Well, thanks for inviting me. I've been there 2 or 3 years, I can't remember how many, but it's really an awesome thing to get that many kids out there, so many moving parts. How you folks get them all together, all in line, ready to go, and on time moving out is tremendous to me. It's a logistics nightmare, I'm sure, but it comes off great every year.
A lot of volunteers, And again, your city is a great help for the course and everything, so thank you.
Great. Thank you folks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 7.5, presentation, Miss Sparks, United States title holders.
So I can sit. Okay. I need to sit so I can talk, please. Hello, City Council, Mayor Martini. My name is Scott Benton. I am the director of Miss Sparks United States pageant. I have title holders that I want to present to you. This weekend they are going off to represent the city of Sparks in the Miss Nevada United States pageant. Over here I have Malibu Robertson. She is the current Miss Team Sparks United States. Sitting with me I have Miss Northern County's United States teen, Nicole Walsh. She represents all of Northern Nevada. She lives in Spanish Springs. Sitting with me is Mackenzie Benton Corliss. She's Little Miss Sparks, United States. And standing next to me is Miss Sparks, United States, Alexis Candy. And then I also have 2 title holders who weren't able to make it that represent the preteen division and the married Miss division. This is the first of the pageant up in the northern part of Nevada that is going down to represent Northern Nevada. We have a few current title holders out of Reno, but this is the largest. Sparks has the largest representation, so I thought it was only fair to bring them and present them to you guys and allow you to see who's going to represent our great city this weekend. And so with that, I would like to present these title holders to you today.
Great. So if you would like, please have each one introduce themselves and say a few words. I know Little Miss Sparks is chomping at the bit to say something. I can see that. So go ahead, give us your name and say a few words, please. You know, don't be nervous, dear. There's only 2 million people watching, so it's okay.
It's the first word that's the tough.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie Benton Corliss, and my title is Little Miss Sparks. My platform is special needs, because me and my family have a heart for special needs, because we have some family members that are special needs, so we hope that we're going to win.
Thank you. Okay, next, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm Nicole Walsh. I am the Miss Teen Northern Counties for Nevada. I'm 17 years old. I go to Spanish Springs High School, and to me this is an amazing opportunity because it's been an experience that I've been able to branch out and truly find out who I am as a person and just develop so much more, and to be able to represent not just Spanish Springs or Sparks, but Northern Counties has been an amazing opportunity, so I hope to do you all proud.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alexis Candy. I am the current Miss Sparks 2015. My platform is dealing with teenage prescription drug abuse and addiction and bringing more awareness to overdose here in our community. And here for Nevada, we are number 4 in the U.S. For overdose, and a lot of people don't know that. So I want to bring more awareness here in the northern Nevada area and to Las Vegas this weekend when we go and compete. I attend Truckee Meadows Community College. I work 2 jobs, and I love the area of Sparks. So I hope that we do a lot of community service that will make you proud. We are very hardworking young ladies, and we can't wait for you to see us shine this year. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Malibu Robertson. I go to Reed High School. I'm 16 years old, and my platform is helping the homeless and other people in need. And I'm glad I'm doing this because it was a good opportunity to meet all these people, because all these girls are really fun to work with, and I hope we represent us good up in Vegas.
Thank you. Well, thank you, ladies. It's always nice to see young people get involved in the community and do things for people. It's wonderful. Anybody have comments? Charlene?
I just want to thank all you ladies for being here today. As a former title holder 100 years ago and a pageant executive director for many years, Miss America program, I love seeing girls who get involved in pageants because they're more than just beauty pageants, and I love the platforms, and I find that what you'll learn now, your self-confidence and the speaking skills, you'll take on job interviews are a piece of cake. After you go through interviews and pageants, it really opens the door for jobs and for feeling more sure of yourself. So good luck. We'll look forward to seeing how you do.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here.
May we please get a photo with all the council members as well?
You want to, why don't you all come up here? We'll move the chairs
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Do you want some on each side? A couple of you. There we go. And you guys in here.
You did. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you. Good
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay, 7.6, presentation by the highest achieving academic groups in the 7th and 8th grades at the Community Life Skills class for the 3rd semester at Dilworth STEM Academy. Who's doing this presentation?
Sheila.
some kids back that were here before.
We just wanted to, this is Karen Melby.
Brian Casey.
George Graham.
We all participated in this program this year with the students, and we just all wanted to introduce them and have you welcome them.
It was a great experience. First time I've ever worked with kids and just explaining what we do, and they had all kinds of great ideas and great questions, and it was really fun. I enjoyed it. Plan on doing it again.
Yeah.
Very enriching experience for all, for the students as well as us professionally. So thank you all.
You're welcome. You want to come on up and introduce yourselves one by one and say a couple words?
Sure.
Sure you do.
We actually have, hi, I'm Georgette
Okay,
Connect.
go ahead, John. You do whatever you need to do.
I'm assistant principal at Dilworth STEM Academy, and we have our administrators here and some of our teachers. And we also have a 7th and an 8th grade group who did the best presentation at each grade level, and we wanted just to have them share a few highlights, if they could, about their presentation.
Sure.
And then we also have Mr. Frank Ford here, who would like to share a little bit about his presentation as well.
Go ahead.
I'll have the kids start with 8th grade students.
My name is Bella Lindsay.
I'm Mr. Alvarez. Mr. Alvarez, David Alvarez.
A little bit about our STEM is that STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. So for 2 weeks at the end of each quarter, we go and we learn about kind of everything we learned throughout the weeks before, since starting our new quarter. And then while we do all of that, we kind of mash it all together into a project. Like ours this quarter was about water and conservation of water. So let's start with math. So with our math, these 4 graphs right here, those all represent the amount of water that we use, because we had a water tracker that we used for 5 days when we started our first week. And so for each color it represents an activity we did. So for like blue, this one, that stands for taking a shower. So for the 5 days that I recorded, total, I suspected that I used about 600 gallons of water showering total. And so like with Shivam, he's not here, him taking a shower, he thought he used about 500 gallons. And for our water proposals, we did, like mine's down, I just read. So for our water proposals, it talks about how we can conserve water and not use as much water. So like if you're taking a shower and you take a 20-minute shower and you use 200 gallons, you can reduce that to 100 gallons by taking like a 10-minute shower, shutting the water off in between, or by washing your dishes by hand instead of using a dishwasher.
So where we get our water source is from Lake Tahoe. And then from Lake Tahoe, it goes all the way, Lake Tahoe, Donner Lake, Independence, Stampede, and Boca. And then it goes all the way down to the Truckee River. And then when it goes close to the Truckee River, it goes to Reno and Sparks. So when it reaches Reno and Sparks, the people at the Truckee Meadows Water Authority, they clean the water for us so that we can use. And then, so we can be able to drink it, take a shower, and other stuff we can do. And after that, it goes down through pipes underground, and then to our homes so that we can use. So like for the sink, we can wash our hands, we can use the bathroom. And when you use the bathroom, after you flush it, it goes back down underground to the pipes into the sewage. And when it reaches to the sewage, it goes back up through pipes again into the Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility. And what they do over there is they clean all the dirty water that we use, so then it could go back to the public, but not for drinking. of course. We also have some charts here talking about the prices of waters.
Yeah, these are our meter sizes. So for us, we probably have 3/4 or to 1, maybe about, it's like not very much to go past 2 or 1.5 even. And so for each meter, the bigger the meter is, the higher the price will go up. So if you have a size 6 meter, it'd be $40.80 for that meter price. And so this chart down here, that's all our contaminants. Those are some of the contaminants that are found in tap water. So your tap water, when you look at this, it's not as clean as you think. And on the left, these are our max. So if we have barium, the parts per million, the max is 2. And when we tested out our tap water, the results ended up going to 0.092. And it's the same with each one. So for each of the results, when they tested it, it was always lower than the max. So they make sure that there's less max or less contaminants in it. And then for our observed rainfall, so this is for the past 10 years. So in 2015, so far we've had 2.91 inches of rainfall. And so the most that we've ever had was in 2005 when we had 10.24 inches. And so far our suspected rainfall, considering for the last 3 years, we think it's going to be about 2 to 3 inches of water.
Okay, we also researched the water rights and the risk and benefits of our tap water. We researched how we found out that tap water is cheaper than bottled water and all that, but we found out that if you have too much of any of the contaminants we found, it would seriously affect your health by like causing cancer or like diseases inside of you. And then we researched how we distribute the water rights and all that. So we found out that anyone can buy water rights, and they're sold like real estate. They're sold by bankers, and you guys and Nevada are the ones that set the regulations on the distribution of the water. And here in our ELA portion, we have to write a story that included water in it. So we wrote a story. And yep. So, for like our water cycle, you can see when the ocean where water evaporates and goes all the way back to the clouds, and when the water is all filled up with clouds, it rains or it snows. So when it rains or snows, it will go down to the mountains. Like if it was snowing, it would stay there into the mountains until it thaws, and then it turns into water, which are runoffs, and then it'll go all the way down to lakes, ponds, rivers, the ocean. And then it would start all over again where it just evaporates and goes all the way back to the cloud as the cycle continues on forever and ever and ever. And for our filter, like we use like Vinling cloth for the top part of the portion. And second, we used charcoal, which is actually the best thing to do to clean dirty water. Yeah.
Clean up the chemicals.
And then we have gravel, so then it could remove other bigger particles. And after it goes to the gravels, it goes all the way down to cotton, so then the cotton could get rid of the black, dirty water from the charcoal. And after that, it goes down to this pipe into like this cheesecloth that's right there, and then that way it can also remove like bigger particles like charcoal or something like that. It goes all the way down to another cheesecloth until it reaches right there, and then the charcoals and rocks will get not get into the water.
Your water is kind of because we were able to remove 3 out of 5 of the contaminants, and we tested chlorine, dissolved oxygen, nitrate, phosphate, and pH. And we tested it before. So what our test results, because we had like little tabs and we put them in the water and you would shake it for a few minutes, and it would make your pH. And so we tested that, and then after we ran it through our filter, our filter was able to take out 3 out of 5 of the contaminants. And then
sale for $20.
and for our tiers, for our water, there's 3 tiers, and they're each higher prices as you go up. So it's per billing period. So for tier 1, if you were to use 0 to 6,000 gallons per billing period, that'd be $1.70.
You get a special price if you buy 2? $20 or $20? Okay.
Buy now. Limited edition. Comes with markers.
Great. Questions?
Well, I want you to go see this guy, Mr. Neil Kreutz over here.
Hey.
He works at our water reclamation out at Tumworth, and you guys would be great employees in the future. So keep us in mind. That was well done. It took me 4 years to figure out what you guys did in a week.
That's all right. Well, great, thank you. We appreciate that.
I ripped the paper. So we're the 7th grade representative from Dilworth. I'm Iris Rowan.
I'm Emily Pettis.
I'm Carol Christina McGee.
And I am Maria Ciaciona. And we're trying to re-innovate Willow Creek Park to make it better for the community.
First of all, we added a new ecosystem to our park. So we put these little flags on our board, our 3D model, to represent the different animals that could be like living around the park. So we have like different squirrels and like type of grass around there. And then we add some bathroom, ponds, and more light poles.
We made our park safer by adding more space to the playground equipment. For example, slide. When the child is sliding down and there is enough padding for the child to fall on so the child doesn't get hurt, or else if there's not enough padding, the child might get hurt because if there's not enough space, another child might hit another child and get hurt. So we wanted to add more space around the playground equipment so that the child doesn't get hurt while other childs are playing around the other equipment. And the calculations that we used for our model was 1 centimeter equals 2 feet. We added some new things to the park, like benches, more benches, some restrooms for convenience because there's no restrooms in Willow Creek Park. We added lights, so then when people are jogging, there's lights. We also added a pond for some wildlife and maybe children entertainment, feeding the ducks maybe. And yeah, extra padding, width of the padding, different padding like the rubber things, or if that's too expensive, sand, because it doesn't hurt as much as wood chips if you fall from a height. So that's how we're going to change Willow Creek Park.
Great. Questions?
Okay, job. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, Tracy, take a picture of this later. And
that's who you go see for a job.
yeah.
Give those back.
Thank you. Next. How are you, young man?
Good. How are you?
Good.
sit, or do you want to?
Yes.
Okay. You got this.
We both had it this.
Yeah. This one's on wheels, though.
I was more concerned about him going skating down the slope.
Okay.
And I am just Vanna holding the board.
Okay, my name is Frank, but I have a partner named Victor, but he's not here right now, so I'm going to do it by myself. I built a park so that everybody can play in it, and just not some people. So I have the playground area, and it's a little slide so that everybody can slide on it. And then I have a jungle gym and I have a merry-go-round, and then I have a swing set that is a baby one, a regular one, and a wheelchair sport one. And I have a pool that everybody can swim in. Over here I have a picnic area. Over there I have a pond, and I have an alligator, but it's a nice alligator. Because the park is kind of in the middle of nowhere. So, and I have a dog park, so people could take their dogs. And I have restrooms, and the wheelchair restrooms, and this white stuff right here is sidewalk.
What is this mean?
Oh, this is the cushion, so if anybody falls, they won't get hurt as bad. Yeah. Is there any questions?
I like your alligator.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Good job.
It was actually the partner who didn't show up. So.
Well, thank you very much. That was wonderful. Thank you.
And by everybody, he meant everybody in a walker and in a wheelchair and with a stroller.
Is that it?
Unless you have any questions.
Questions, yeah.
This, Mr. Mayor, this is the same group, or pretty much the same group that came by when they started this, right? Or they had another project, if I remember.
I'll just come up so it's easy.
Please.
Okay.
We have a sort of competition every quarter for students to have special opportunities for doing the very best projects. We want a high level of rigor at our school. So this is a brand-new set of different students who won the competition for this last quarter. So thank you so much for partnering with us and for having all of your staff members come over so willingly and work with our students for the first time. It's a scary thing working with 100 middle school students, but I wanted to thank you. You know, Karen came in and talked like a scholar, and Brian came in and talked about the finances and the work aspects of being part of Sparks, and then George came in and shared his artistry and how being an engineer is like being a creative artist. So their appeal to our students is way more than we could ever do alone. So I just want to thank you so much for partnering with us. And it was really an example, I think, for the Education Alliance who came in and asked you about your partnerships. And I think that this could be a great
beginning of a beautiful friendship with Sparks. So thanks again for all your support.
Ms. Bybee?
I just want to say that I had no idea until you were here with your last group of students that Dilworth was a STEM academy. And I am so impressed with the students and what they're doing, and that there's a STEM academy right next door. So awesome job. And I want to come by. I'll give you a call. I'd love to come by and tour the campus and meet some more of your staff. But very impressed with the school and the fact that it is STEM.
Well, thanks again so much. You're all welcome anytime to come on over, and of course to be principal for a day if you'd like to. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. It's wonderful to see our young people do such great work, and I'll speak for myself, but being principal for a day, me might be a little over my head. I think it's probably a little tougher than I have to do on a daily basis. So we appreciate everything you young people do. Thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to consent items, 8.1 through 8.8. Anybody want to pull a consent item? Okay, if not, looking for a motion? Mr. Lawson?
I move to approve consent items 8.1 through 8.8.
Mr. Smith?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Lawson, seconded by Mr. Smith, to approve consent items 8.1 through 8.8. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, general business items, consideration and possible approval of resolution number 3274, approving the appointment of surplus amounts remaining in the special fund created for the payment of bonds and interest of Marina Area Special Assessment District Number 2. Mr. Cronk.
Good afternoon, Mayor Martini, members of the council. I have before you a resolution. In 2002, the City of Sparks issued special assessment bonds, and we refunded those in 2004 for the marina area, infrastructure, curbs, gutters, that sort of thing. And we find ourselves actually in a position where we're paying those off this coming May, and we have a surplus. So state law dictates what to do in that situation when you have a surplus. So this resolution I have before you today is essentially you approving following state law, honestly, where I can apportion, according to working with the assessor's office and the treasurer's office, we can apportion the surplus out as a refund to the current parcel owners. So regardless of actually who owned it over the course of time, it's refunded to the current parcel owners. So that's what we have right now.
Great.
Actually, with that, any questions?
Questions for Jeff? Okay. Anybody on the phone have questions? Okay. Okay, looking for a motion, Ms. Bybee.
I move to approve resolution number 3274, approving the apportionment of surplus amounts remaining in the Marina Area Special Assessment District Number 2.
Mr. Smith?
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Bybee, seconded by Councilman Smith to approve agenda item 9.1, resolution number 3274. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. 9.2, consideration and possible award of the 2015 curb, gutter, sidewalk, and pavement replacement project unit bid number 1415-014. Mr. Casson.
I got a overhead I need to put up here. Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Brian Kaysen, Capital Projects Manager for the City of Sparks. I'm here today to present the 2015 curb, gutter, sidewalk, and pavement replacement project for Unit 1 for consideration and possible approval to Sierra Nevada Construction. Basically, as the name says, we'll be replacing curb, gutter, and sidewalk on Prospect Way from Rock Boulevard to 17th Street, and on Oxford Avenue from Rock Boulevard to 17th Street. We'll also be doing a mill and overlay on these surfaces also. 3 bids were submitted for the project, ranging from $406,000 to $460,000, with Sierra Nevada Construction being the low bidder, and staff recommends Sierra Nevada Construction be awarded the project. With that being the end of my presentation, I will answer any questions that you may have.
Questions for Mr. Kazin? Okay, seeing none, looking for a motion. Mr. Lawson.
I move to award the 2015 curb gutter sidewalk and pavement replacement project Unit 1, bid number 1415-014 to Sierra Nevada Construction in the amount of $406,007.
Ms. Bybee.
Second.
Oops, sorry. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Lawson, seconded by Ms. Bybee, to approve agenda item 9.2. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Aye. Passes unanimously. 9.3, consideration and possible award of the Marion Way and 6th Street Improvement Project, CDBG federally funded, bid number 1415-012. Mr. Casson again.
Again, for the record, my name is Brian Kaysen, Capital Projects Manager for the City of Sparks. This isn't showing up too well in there, but I'm here today to present the Marion Way and 6th Street Improvement Project for consideration and possible award to Spanish Springs Construction. This project will replace curb gutter and sidewalk on 6th Street from Prater Way to Victorian Avenue, which is this street right here. It's basically right behind City Hall, and it goes, of course, all the way down to Victorian. And then also part of the project is Marion Way, which is over here, just adjacent to Dilworth Middle School. And on both of those streets, we'll be replacing the curb gutter and sidewalk. On Marion Way, we'll actually be doing a full roadway reconstruction, and we are working with the school district to do some things right there by adjacent to the property in terms of the fencing and that sort of thing that goes along with the curb gutter and sidewalk. It is a federally funded project using CDBG funding, which is Community Development Block Grant funding. It's something we do on a yearly basis and move from street to street along older streets in the city of Sparks to try and improve the sidewalks. There were 4 bids submitted for the project, ranging from $422,000 to $522,000, with Spanish Springs Construction being the low bidder, and staff is recommending Spanish Springs Construction be awarded the project. With that being the end of my presentation, I will answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Okay, looking for a motion. Mr. Smith.
I move to award the Marion Way and 6th Street Improvement Project in the amount of $422,444.
Ms. Bybee.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Smith, seconded by Councilwoman Bybee to approve 9.3. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Aye. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Okay, 9.4, consideration, discussion, and possible direction to address a proposal from the Builders Association of Northern Nevada to allow temporary signs for the residential sales to be placed in the right-of-way. Mr. Ornelas.
Mayor Martini, members of the City Council, I'm Armando Ornelas, City Planner. This agenda item was prepared to provide the City Council the opportunity to provide staff direction to work on code amendments to provide for additional temporary signage for new residential communities. The way staff had understood the request was, and maybe it was either a misunderstanding on our part or perhaps too narrowly construed, but we had understood the request was to basically address a proposal from the Builders Association to allow temporary signs in the public right-of-way. So the staff report outlines the concerns that staff had with that specifically, i.e. putting them in the public right-of-way, and we can certainly answer any questions you may have about either the proposal or our concerns. but we've offered 3 different options. And, as you know, before staff works on code amendments, we need direction from council to do it. So basically, it's council sponsorship to go work on code amendments. So the options are to take no action. The second option would be to direct staff to initiate a code amendment to Title 20 to allow signs, temporary signage in the public right-of-way, and that would also require amending the Sparks adoption of the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, because we reference that in our codes, and so that addresses signage in the public right-of-way. And then the third option would be to provide direction to staff to initiate code amendments to allow for essentially more generous signage for residential communities, but outside of the public right-of-way and on private property. So that's the third option that we offer to you. So with that, I will stand for any questions and see what direction you give us.
Questions for Armando, and then we have some public comment, I believe. Mr. Smith.
I have a question now, Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I've got Ron Smith first, and then you, Ron. Go ahead, Ron Smith.
You can go.
Go ahead. Mr. Schmidt, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Armando, didn't we try this about 8, 9 years ago?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear the question.
Repeat it again, Ron.
Sure. Armando, didn't we try to make some exemptions 8, 9 years ago in regards to temporary signs in the right-of-way? And we ran into all kinds of problems that we couldn't exclude one group over another group, that we either have to allow temporary signs by everybody in the right-of-way?
There is Councilman Schmidt, there is, essentially a caveat in the section of the code that has to do with signs on the public right-of-way, and it addresses directional signs owned by the city or with a permit. Basically, that's specific to permanent signs, and essentially any signs that would be permitted under that provision of the code would have to be consistent with the MUTCD. And so the last instance when we did something like this was with the wayfaring signs that were placed at Legends and around downtown, and directing people to Golden Eagle Regional Park. And those were signs that were very carefully vetted and reviewed for conformance with the MUTCD. And that was Councilman Schmidt, my understanding of the last instance where we did this. With regard to your question more specifically, I do believe that we looked at that about 9 years ago, and that we were, these same concerns arose at the time.
Okay, so then I guess my understanding of the signage is wrong. These are actually going to be permanently installed signage for a given period of time. They're not like the A-frame sign somebody's going to put out for the weekend?
That would be correct. I mean, that one provision would be limited to permanent signs that comply with the MUTCD.
Okay, all right. I misunderstood the agenda item then, because I thought it was for portable signs.
Well, Councilman Schmidt, the agenda item is for temporary signs, and perhaps I misunderstood your question just now. I think what we're saying is that, certainly the council can give us direction to work on signs to provide for temporary signage, and I guess it would be to the extent possible specific to residential communities, but given the content-neutral premise of our sign code, it would essentially allow any signs that met the standards. And the options would be to allow them to develop code amendments that would allow for them in the public right-of-way, which would also require amending the MUTCD as we've adopted, or alternatively to allow for additional temporary signs for use on private property.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I have a question for the attorney. Mr. Adams, as this first one is proposed here, or to put them in the right-of-way, these signs, is this legal?
Let me address what Councilman Schmidt said. Okay. We did have this issue come up several years ago as far as temporary signs. And it was the opinion of the office then And it remains the opinion of this office that you cannot allow temporary signs to be in the public right-of-way by picking out any particular group, organization, cause. And what the law says is, just like Councilman Schmidt recalls, is that if you're going to allow temporary signs in our right-of-way, you have to allow everybody to have temporary signs in the right-of-way. And the staff has pointed out in their report that we have a content-neutral sign code. And the reason that is content-neutral, and what the Ninth Circuit has continuously ruled, is that if you have to read a sign to make a determination as to whether or not that sign fits within your code is no longer content neutral. So, my position on this is that alternative 2 would be contrary to the Constitution. Not only is it applied federally, but Nevada's Constitution as well, that we could not pass an ordinance that would allow any particular group specifically to put signs in our right-of-way to the exclusion of other groups. Should such an ordinance come to me, I would refuse to sign it. It would not make it to the City Council. Should the city manager overrule my decision, I still would not approve it once the City Council passed it. So I think you've got a very difficult road here as far as alternative number 2 goes.
Okay. Questions, anyone else on the phone? Julia?
Nothing.
Go ahead, Ron Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chet, on the no exclusions, if the ordinance passed, and I'm not talking about number 2, but in general, if the ordinance passed, that would allow everybody, if that's what we wanted to do, not restrict anybody. How does that affect the law?
If you allowed everybody and anybody to put, you could do that.
Okay.
You may run some risks as far as some risks of liability, as far as site obstructions, allowing a dangerous condition to be created, allowing a dangerous situation to exist. So there may be some additional liability issues there. But as far as the courts are concerned regarding the First Amendment, then you would probably not be in as much trouble there.
And I understand that if we let everybody do it, it would create a mess, and I get that. We actually did a demonstration on setting the signs out. Valerie did it, and Karen and I went along for a ride and looked at the signs that they put out to see if they were acceptable. And the problem I saw right away was half the signs were in the right-of-way, half of them were not, and of the half that were in the right-of-way, we weren't sure if it was right-of-way or not.
Sure.
So I had asked Karen to get me a map of the right-of-ways on Vista Boulevard. That didn't happen. And one of her comments here is that code enforcement currently doesn't work on the weekends, and I don't think they're asking for anybody to work on the weekends, but if code enforcement went by Friday afternoon and Monday morning, if the signs were still up, you'd see they violated what they're trying to do. I had also asked for recommendations for putting signs up out of the right-of-way, some goals that we could have, and I didn't get that either. So I understand about number 2. And since we don't know exactly where the right-of-way, we still need that, Karen. Okay? And then I would like to hear from the builders, because there was a portion of the code that they pointed out that allows them to do that, and that wasn't addressed in this presentation either. So maybe if you hear that, and if we have to change the code back, or maybe with your legal opinion you can
Sure, and I can add to what you just pointed out as far as right-of-way. Anybody who has run for political office in Sparks knows how difficult it is to ascertain the right-of-way, whether it belongs to the city, whether it belongs to the state, and that may be yet another issue that you would run into. And I don't know what code enforcement says about political signs during the political season.
Well, they don't allow you to do that. And I will say, in Karen's behalf, that some of the signs they put up were in front of the businesses on Vista, and we didn't know if that was their grassy area or if it was right-of-way. So there was, it's something we need to clarify.
Sure. I'd be happy to look at the existing code as well, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we do have some public comments, so why don't we, oops, I'm sorry, go ahead, Charlie.
Chad, I have another question.
If we allowed signs in the right-of-way, would we be in violation of state and federal law, and would we be jeopardizing any funding, per se? Or what is legally, what would be our stand if we did approve?
If you allowed signs in the right-of-way, as long as you allowed any sign whatsoever, regardless of the content, you would not run afoul of federal or state law concerning the First Amendment. The problem comes in is when you start to regulate those signs. Certain groups, certain organizations, certain entities are allowed to have signs in the right-of-way to the exclusion of others. Now, that being said, on the First Amendment issues, which is the one that concerns me the most, if you were to allow signs in the right-of-way as far as jeopardizing your funding and those types of things, I'm not prepared to address that. Maybe Neil could, but if there are laws out there that require you to keep those rights-of-way open, then and funding is contingent upon that, then obviously you would risk funding, but I don't know from a practical aspect whether you would or not.
Okay, but it would, our liability would come down to a safety issue if all of a sudden we allowed it and you had multiple signs and someone gets into an accident at a major on a right, because the vision was obscured by the number of signs that were out there, that opens, the city becomes liable by allowing that. Am I correct?
Correct. We had a lawsuit several years ago up on Queens Way, where a shrub was allowed to obstruct an intersection. And a child came down an arterial street on a Queens Way, which is a hill, blew through the intersection, went into traffic, and was hit and killed. Ultimately, the city was found responsible for allowing that obstruction to exist on public property, on our sidewalk. So that's just one example of the potential liability that you have.
Okay, we do have public comment. If you guys want to step aside, we'll bring, oh, I'm sorry, Neil. For the record, I forgot you were back to work. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I'm happy to be back at work. For the record, Neil Cruz, Deputy City Manager. In terms of compliance with state and federal requirements for funding, one of the things that we do have to comply with is compliance with the MUTCD. And one concern that we have shared with our council is that, if we are to allow signs in the right-of-way, that we would have to take certain exceptions to the MUTCD, and that could potentially jeopardize state and federal funding going forward, to answer your question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else before public comment? Okay, let's start with Valerie Roth.
Good afternoon.
And you have 3 minutes, Valerie.
Okay, I'm going to talk really fast.
Okay.
All right, I am owner of Traffic Builders Signs. Traffic Builders Inc., we do sign service for the builders. I've been doing this for 10 years in the state of Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and Idaho. So I've dealt with many cities, states, government entities on this. Just real briefly, I don't know if you folks are aware of the program that I proposed, 36 hours for these signs, 36 hours. To be eligible to do these signs, the business must be zoned in a residential area. They must operate out of an unlived-in house or trailer. This pretty much narrows it down. Permitting the signs I'm all for that, getting them permitted. You make money, it's all good. The signs would be up no later than 8 a.m. on Saturday and down no later than midnight and most likely by 9 p.m. on Sunday. The size of the sign, 24 by 24, 4 square feet. And all that's going to be on the sign is the name of the community, some directional arrows, and models open, or something very similar to that. There have been some concerns. If they let the builders do it, then everyone else will be able to. And the solution, as I mentioned earlier, the business must sell their product in a residentially zoned area. All the other people in commercial areas can sell wherever they want. They can also have A-frames out. No staff to oversee program on weekend. Well, there's not going to be, it would be self-regulating for me and the builders regulating the sign company. Right-of-way, I'll provide a map, and no signs in the right-of-way will affect traffic, pedestrians, vision of areas. Your sign code, and I'll read it, it's 20.56.070 D1C. It clearly states, no sign shall be displayed in any right-of-way or on public property except directional signs owned by the city or with a permit. Therein lies our opportunity to permit these signs for the builders to help them get people to their communities. I think I've used my 3 minutes. Okay, all right. So, I am here, the builders bring so much to the city of Sparks in the way of revenue. The new families that come in, again, so much money. Sparks is growing. It's an exciting time for the city of Sparks, and we would just love to work together with you. And this is,
Are you Mike?
Yes.
Okay, Mike Curry, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Curry with Genuine Communities. As you are aware, we are a local home builder with 3 active communities in Sparks: Stone Ridge at Wingfield Springs, The Overlook at the Pinnacles, and Kendall Creek condominiums. We have a new project, Croston Springs at Kylie Ranch, coming in the next few weeks. Based on a recent study conducted by the National Association of Home Builders, my company alone brought to the city of Sparks in 2014 the following. In 2014, Genuine Communities sold 57 new homes in the city of Sparks, generating $1.25 million in local taxes, supporting 184 jobs, totaling an $8.4 million in salaries, $12 million in local income. These numbers are the direct and indirect impact of the construction activity, plus induced effect of spending and income and taxes generated by the construction activity. I haven't even calculated the ongoing annual effect that occurs when new homes are occupied. We are expecting to double our sales in 2015. Based on our traffic reports, our sign program generates about 80% of our traffic. Eliminating this proven practice has dramatically affected our traffic, which in turn affects our sales. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mike. Terry
Sharosh. You did very well, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the Sparks City Council, I'm the Executive Director of the Builders Association of Northern Nevada, BAN, and I appreciate this opportunity to address this issue. All of us lucky enough to live in this region frequently tout the quality of life we all enjoy in Northern Nevada, beautiful days, an abundance of recreational opportunities, and particularly well-planned communities that allow our citizens to enjoy these bountiful amenities. The challenge sometimes is assisting people in finding the wonderful new homes that will allow them to share in this American dream. Understand that Sparks is not unique in voicing the concerns you've expressed about directional signage. Sign blight, the unbridled use of directional signage, detracts from the vision we share of a Sparks that reflects a thoughtful, well-planned community in which its citizens are justifiably proud. Home builders, too, take a great deal of pride in the communities in which they build, and they want those who are considering a new home purchase to be greeted with an approach to that new home community that is pleasant, not one that's overrun with various signage promoting everything from gym memberships to new mattresses in the box. Our industry understands the need for signage regulation and pledges our support to assure that sign blight is not experienced in Sparks as a result of this proposal. The Builders Association of Northern Nevada is part of a national organization with local home builders associations nationwide. This national presence allows us to share information with other HBAs in an effort to gather information and formulate solutions to common problems. The proposal we've been discussing is partially a result of that sort of national collaboration. I'm here to share with you today that numerous municipalities nationwide, from Wentzville, Missouri, to Lakeland, Florida, to Hillsborough, New Jersey, have all utilized weekend directional signage programs to drive traffic to their new home communities, all with successful outcomes. Comments you've heard from my colleagues point out the purchase of a new home is the single most important wealth builder for our citizens. It increases property values for other local residents. Additionally, the financial impact of that new home purchase reverberates throughout the community in the form of jobs for workers constructing those homes, in the ripple effect of their wages as they purchase goods and services within our community, and through the tax dollars those homes will bring to Sparks, impacts that will last for decades. Because of the need for a workable directional sign program for the home builders in Sparks, you can be sure that the industry will adhere to the guidelines that are formulated for the program. Permitting, policing, and proper placement will be monitored for compliance by those utilizing the program and by the professionals who are licensed and knowledgeable to do so. Without directional signage, potential home buyers, the new citizens we want to attract to Sparks in Northern Nevada, often have an extremely difficult time navigating to the home site. In today's connected world, most potential new home buyers rely on electronic mapping services to obtain directions, but few of our new home sites have been mapped and are not part of the satellite systems. We believe that a 6-month pilot program will be beneficial to all who qualify and who follow the guidelines established by existing ordinance and the clarifications detailed within our proposal. It will prove that the program can work as designed. We ask that you approve a program and work with our industry to assure that it benefits all, and that properly permitted and implemented prevents the concerns we're addressing today.
Thanks, Terry. John Schrader.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is John Schroeder. I'm with Ryder Homes, and I'm here to respectfully urge that you help the builders implement a right-of-way temporary weekend directional signage program. I want you to help us figure out some way to do this. Our primary source of buyers is signage. We track that every week, and it's well over 50% of our buyers come from the signage we put out and are able to put out. We can put temporary directional signs out today in Reno. We can put them out in Sparks, no problem. As a matter of fact, as Terry pointed out, most communities in the western United States allow temporary signage of some sort. Interestingly, builders are unique. We cannot locate our store, I put that in quotation marks, in a commercial area like other businesses. Prospects have to come out and walk through our models to buy a house. They have to come out and visit the community. They want to know where they're going to live. And we must sell from a residential area, which, as Terry also pointed out, is not usually on the main thoroughfare, so we don't have any exposure. Other businesses that operate out of residential areas, and I'm not sure what all they are, but maybe daycare, and I know people work out of their own house as consultants, they could all move to a commercial spot. We have no choice. We are stuck in that residential area, and we have to get the traffic there. And this is one of the primary ways that we do that. As Valerie pointed out, you have an ordinance, and in that ordinance, the section 20.56.070 does allow directional signs that are permitted. Now, that's considered, the directional signs are classified as permanent, so you would have to amend the ordinance to allow temporary directional signs. But in this, and by permitting them with the conditions that the business must be in a residential area, must operate out of a house or trailer that's not lived in, that pretty much precludes anybody else from taking advantage of this program, but it's not business specific. And I honestly think that within the different ordinances you guys subscribe to at the state and federal level, If we just have a temporary sign program, it's 36 hours, there may be ways to implement that doesn't run afoul of those other regulations. I seriously thank you for your consideration today.
Thanks. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to council. Questions, Mr. Lawson?
Well, I understand the problem. I'm sorry, but the way our ordinance reads, we're content neutral, bottom line. And we can't exclude the other groups. And I'll give you a great example of this. And I'm going to ask, since we're getting all this lawyerly advice from the audience, but let me know how you'd handle the fact that a craft seller sets up his craft booth in the middle of Victorian Square in a designated free speech area and is able to sell his crafts during Hot August nights, the rib cook-off, and everything else. You think that that's crazy? Well, we live with that. We got sued. We lost that case. If we continue to make exceptions, do other things, the bottom line is this is a slippery slope. There's serial garage sale people in neighborhoods that have them every weekend. So what's preventing them from putting up 50 A-frames or all over the place? What if one of those blows out in the middle of the street and becomes a traffic hazard? Who's responsible for that? So there's a myriad of problems I see here, but I understand also we do want to help you guys with your business, but don't we also have some directional signs along Sparks and Vista that point directly to where these homes are, or the new homes are? I mean, they've been up there for years, and I don't think there's anything precluding anybody from being on that. So there are billboards, there's newspaper advertising, there's a lot of things. But you put a sign in the right-of-way, and I'm walking my dogs, or, God forbid, a kid on a roller skates or a skateboard hits one of those signs, falls in the street, whose problem is it now? It's the city's problem. And I don't think that opening this up to the city is a good idea.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The directional signs that we currently have in the city haven't been used in about 10 years, Armando?
I think roughly.
They're out of touch, really. But and my understanding is the city attorney has given direction to pull those down. Is that true? The directional signs, the permanent ones?
The permanent ones?
Yeah.
I have not, no.
Okay. Chet, I'd like to ask you a question on the... You take that back.
I've always had a problem with those directional signs for the very reasons that I've expressed as far as
making
exception. But I have never directed that they be taken down.
Okay. All right.
10 Commandments in a park.
Can we address the code that they pointed out?
2606-070. Those have to do
with the permanent signs that are already there. The permitted signs relate to
Permanent or permitted?
Permitted signs are for the permanent signs.
For instance, lease available office space?
The directional signs that I had a concern with 10 years ago.
Okay, so we have permits on those?
It's my understanding you do.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying that the code that they pointed out is not relevant?
The code that they pointed out would not be applicable to a temporary 36-hour temporary sign.
Okay. And then the suggestions given today, permitting them, if we did do something like this, that would involve everybody, that all they had to do is pay for a permit?
Yeah, here's the deal.
I hate it when you say that.
If you have a permitted sign, you're going to have to stick some kind of a sticker or identifier on there.
Right.
Now you've got somebody who has to go up and read the sign to make a determination as to whether or not it has a permit. Once you do that, you run afoul of the Ninth Circuit's holding on these signs and what a municipality can and cannot do. So you read a sign that says, Chet's Builders, Chet doesn't have a permit. Chet sign is out of compliance. Chet gets a citation. Ryder Homes has a nice little permit sticker on it. They don't get a citation. And that is the problem. That is the slippery slope that we were headed up or down or sideways on.
Okay, what do you think about option 3?
I like option 3.
Okay, but still, the problem is we don't know about, the code enforcers seem to know when they're in the right-of-way. But we couldn't figure it out when we were going down Vista in front of those businesses. We don't know if that lawn area with the nicely curbed, how do we do that? What do we do?
Well, we have the same public documents as far as right-of-ways as anybody else does. And sometimes it is difficult to understand where the right-of-way is, but that is not necessarily our concern. As a governmental entity, we have rights-of-way out there. It is not our job to clearly delineate or demarc those rights-of-way. We can give out maps, and if Karen is looking for a map, Karen has a map, we can certainly make those available. I like the idea of option number 3 because it contemplates the use of private property. If somebody wants to put a sign on private property, you get the permission of the landowner, you buy a lease, you put up a billboard, you do whatever you can, but the government is not involved. And that's where I run into problems, is under governmental regulation of free speech.
Okay, I had another question, and it's gone. Well, I guess what we're looking at here is just direction for the staff to put together something for signs not in the right-of-way. And that would not cover just the weekend, that would cover any time they want to do it. Is that correct?
Councilman Smith, yes, I think what option 3 involves is basically you providing direction, the council providing direction to the staff to prepare a set of code amendments that would provide for essentially more generous temporary signage on private property that would be useful, if you will, to the builders in particular, but probably more generally because of the content neutrality of the code.
So if they're putting the signs on not in the right-of-way, why would we need to change anything?
Well,
I don't understand.
The sign ordinance includes standards and limits, if you will, on signage on private property. As you recall, when we went through the...
And that's mostly strip malls.
Well, that's everything. And so basically, I think what we would be contemplating in this case is that we would look at changing the code to provide for more generous signage allowances on private property that is, residentially zoned in particular. So, in a nutshell, we'd be looking at ways to allow more signage on private property in residential areas where, builders are most likely to want to place temporary signage.
Go ahead.
Ms. Spivey.
First of all, let me say that I totally appreciate your industry, and I am so glad that it's coming back strong. It's been a rough few years. I don't have to tell all of you that, but to see construction happening, to see jobs that are resulting from that, what it does for our economy is critically important to the city and to our region. I do have a problem on the right-of-way. The right-of-way I just cannot support for all the reasons, the legal ramifications, the First Amendment. It's just that slippery slope that I don't think is somewhere I'm comfortable going with the right-of-way. I would like to see us pursue the temporary sign provision on private property or just out of the right-of-way. I think looking at, I know the assessor's map, I think obviously we need a good map. I know in my election, first thing code enforcement told me, Joe said, here's the assessor's map, put it on your iPad, and I'd click a little X every time I was looking where I was going to put a campaign sign, and that helped. I mean, sometimes it was hard to tell, but we need that should be something that is a tool that's used for more than just this, that there should be good mapping that clearly delineates where the right-of-way is and where it's not for everybody, for whatever your purpose is. So getting good maps to do that. But I'm comfortable with the temporary signs going up to help get people to these areas. I was thinking GPS, and we do so much on, I don't know how much you guys are on, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all of the social media to promote, especially if it's younger home buyers, that's where they're looking. And I know if it's not mapped, if it's not, you can't Google map it if it's not on the map yet, but some of them might be, or at least to direct them there, another way to drive traffic there if that helps at all, or that's not a solution, but temporary, but not in the right of way, I couldn't support.
Mr. Lawson.
If I may just address that issue of, knowing what's right-of-way and what's not a right-of-way. If we're going to require a permit for a temporary sign, then at time of application, we will check to see whether, the proposed location is in the right-of-way or on private property. And if it's on private property, subject to whatever the limitations are that the council ultimately adopts in terms of this temporary signage, we would allow it, we would permit it, so.
Mr. Lawson.
You said that what's the restriction on residential signage now?
Well, in terms of the code now, and maybe this is a question I will actually ask Karen to address specifically, but in terms of there's allowances, as you know, in every zoning district for amounts and types of signage. And so in residential areas, we tried to address temporary signage for apartment communities in particular. They have their flags and their banners, et cetera. And then with this new sign ordinance, there are some limitations in terms of how builders can use it, and it has limits in terms of number of entrances, and we've been, for practical purposes, in the last few weeks, as we've worked with builders as they ramp up for their season, we've been interpreting that as liberally as possible, so we're allowing basically 8 per community. But I guess if the direction from the council was, we want to see the code amendments that allow more signage for these types of communities, then we would be looking at increasing the limits and maybe liberalizing where you can place them, et cetera, et cetera. It'd be that sort of amendment to the code.
So if Ed Lawson, consultant, decides to put signs in my front yard and my neighbor's front yard, is there a limit in the size or number?
Well, that's one of the issues we have to address. Essentially, I don't believe that in the case of a single-family home, that signage is permitted. Is that?
They're allowed one residential sign, 9 square.
So,
join me up here.
9 square feet per sign.
Yeah.
They're allowed one residential sign. I think it's 9 square feet. I'd have to look at the
Yeah.
It's 9 square feet.
I've read so many sign codes over my career, I forgot what ours is. But there's no limitation. I could put up 50 of those if I want to in my neighborhood, as long as I get all my neighbors to agree. Correct?
Yep.
I think there's your solution, folks, is you get the neighbors to agree to put your signs up. Put as many of them as you want.
I haven't said anything yet either, but obviously the in the right-of-way is not a good policy, not something we should do, not something we consider. I think it's probably illegal. Plus, it's a code enforcement nightmare. You can't tell me that these things will be policed up every time they're put out there, because I've seen it in the past, and they're just not. It just won't happen. To me, I think we've got plenty of places you can put signs now. I don't think, you just ran, how many phone calls did you get about signs and things about what's going on? There's signs that are put in the right-of-way now. Nobody pays attention. They don't get policed up. It's the same thing. Every weekend I go out somewhere in this community and there's realtor signs in the right-of-way. Open house here, open house there. So, folks, we're just getting to the time now where we're getting busy. We're hiring some new people to come in and approve developments. Let's not waste our time with those new people on doing sign codes again and again and again. I'm just tired of it. My take on this is take no action. We've got plenty of signs out there. People can read. When I'm looking for a house, I don't drive down the street on Sunday and just think, here's the sign. I think I'll buy a house today. when you're going to go look for a house, you look on the internet, you look in the paper, you look everywhere, you know where you're going to find a house if you're going to buy a new house. So, to me, let's take no action on this. We've got plenty of signage as it is, and let's move on. Mr. Smith.
Well, I disagree with that, but I'd really like to do something for the builders. They do offer a lot to our economy, jobs, so on and so forth. I think that we can do something. I don't want to change the code, and if they wanted to put it not in the right-of-way, they can do that any day of the week. Is that correct?
Well, they can do it subject to the restrictions in the code.
Whatever the restrictions are.
Yes.
And the tragedy of this whole thing is they're offering to self-regulate, and if we made it a temporary okay, if it didn't work, we can tell them it didn't work, and we can go right back to where we were. But we're supposed to be business-friendly in this town, and I don't know that we're being that right now. We're sticking to something that can change if we want to change it, and I'm not necessarily looking for a huge change.
Mr. Lawson.
My concern is definitely not with these people. It's everyone else.
That's right.
It's the Ed Lawson consultant or the Ed Lawson serial garage sale holder that puts his signs out there. The other guy that is selling a single home and puts the sign on either side of yours that's already out there. I mean, there's this the ways around this code. I see so many that it becomes an absolute nightmare in enforcement.
Questions? Anyone else on the phone? Go ahead, Chet.
Did I understand your presentation that you sold 57 homes here in Sparks?
1.25 mil,
Yes, just in Sparks.
and that was without right-of-way signs.
No, that wasn't in 2014.
You had right-of-way, you had signs in the right-of-way then?
During the election.
During the election?
During the political season.
So you had a special, were they permitted at all?
Yeah.
Well-
They were permitted, but the ordinance was pretty open relative to when you put up, it can't be content, you have to be content neutral, so when people.
Not in the right of way.
Election signs.
So there's, as Councilman Lawson pointed out, there's ways around all of this, and so you're going to wait next election season to put them up in the right-of-way again.
Probably.
Okay.
When has it been okay to put a sign up in the right of way?
I don't know, because...
I don't think we've ever it's never been acceptable or legal to put a sign up in the right of way, the public right of way.
I know the state was on me, the city was on me.
They take them down.
Anytime any sign was in the right of way. So I'm not condoning that, and I'm certainly, it gets back to what the mayor said, we didn't have enough people to enforce that, but I'm sure in upcoming elections, we will be looking at that as well.
So you've told me you already have done this, put signs in the right, sales signs in the right of way?
Not all of the signs, though.
No, I'm not talking about all of them, I'm talking any of them.
Some.
Yeah. So you've already done something that's illegal?
We haven't done anything since your new ordinance came into place, because the previous one wasn't real clear on some of this, and we're trying to be respectful and, of course, conform with the law, so we haven't done anything.
Okay, Charlene?
So, Armando, currently, right now, temporary signs, is there, in our code, is there a provision for the temporary signs not in the right-of-way? Is that the 8 signs?
Yes, that's the 8.
So 8 signs. So if we directed you...
Karen can address it more specifically.
So is it just the 8 signs? I'm just looking at if we use number 3, what changes, and we would have to decide, you said being more generous or looking at what options on private property and limit, it would be the number of signs is what we would be looking at, providing direction, working with staff.
Karen Melby, Senior Planner. That would be one thing that we could look at is maybe allowing residential sales to have more temporary signs. We'd have to look at that. That could be one possibility that staff could bring back in a code amendment. Right now, temporary signs, the maximum number of temporary signs you can have are 8.
And that doesn't specify residential or other.
That's correct.
So we would have to, and would residential again could be anything because we're content neutral. Could be my garage sale, could be Ed Lawson's business, or could be
open houses.
An open house or a builder. Would be strictly residential by nature of where it was located.
Yes, candidly, when we drafted the temporary sign provisions in this latest version of the sign ordinance, we were concerned primarily with and thinking primarily about commercial areas. And so, what Karen has done in terms of, working with the adopted sign ordinance as she's worked with the builders is to basically, extend it or apply it in this case, and she's applied it, as liberal as she can given how the code is written currently. But as she said, one thing that we could do, if that's the direction we got from council, was to look at, allowing for additional signs for those residentially zoned property.
Okay, so it would be temporary and it would be residential.
Right, on private property.
Which obviously would include builders, and it could include other things also, but it would give some more leeway to allow more signs, because that is very different than commercial. When you were, our initial sign code for temporary signs, we're thinking strip malls, and we're thinking in all the commercial area, which is very different, because these signs need to be residential, and then depending on how that works in the neighborhoods too, because I also don't want to flood our neighborhoods with so many signs that then I'm getting calls from residents that are upset because their neighbors approved, all their neighbors are approved sign, and now and then we've got Scenic Nevada calling me, so.
Okay,
that answers my questions.
I don't want to beat this dog all day long, but, the biggest offenders are the cardboard box held down by a rock, and the garage sale was 6 weeks ago, and it's still out there. So that gives everybody a bad day. I would like to give direction, and you guys can change that you look at extending the amount of signs, not in the right-of-way that they can use. And if it's a temporary sign that you'd like to see, on the weekends only, or whatever it is, if they need a permit, come back with some resolutions next meeting, or some suggestions.
Well, thank you, Councilman Smith, and I greatly appreciate this, and I don't want to be a fly in anybody's ointment here. I would like to have an opportunity to review any proposed ordinance, so it might be a little bit longer than just 2 weeks.
Okay, the only concern I have is we're getting into the selling season now. They're selling houses, people out looking, and if we wait till October, let's not do anything. But if we can do it by the end of next month at least.
Well, we can, Councilman Smith, if that's the direction we pursue, we could certainly get to work on the code amendments. I mean, they would have to, if we're going to amend the sign ordinance, it would have to go to Planning Commission, and then we'd have to, bring it back for first and second readings of the City Council.
Okay. So just to be clear, they can put signs out now? Of course. They can put signs out now?
Subject to the limitations in the code.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay, thank you. But that's the direction I'd like to see, is ASAP. Let's talk about that.
Okay, we should get something in the form of a motion then, so you can...
Formal direction would be appreciated.
Yeah, formal direction. You want to make a motion? Does anybody on the phone listening want to say something?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Ron Schmidt here. I'm hearing deja vu of this conversation that we've had years past, rehashing everything again. And, I'm just looking at this. I think there has to be a way to go ahead and make something work here for the building industry, because they are such a vital part of the industry. And I don't know how much that they're asking for that staff can give basically what's in our sign code right now. My concern comes after 14 years of doing with this sign code. One of my first things we had on City Council was dealing with the Ninth Circuit Court in this matter. And every time it comes forward, there's a group of people that bring this forward to ask for changes in this code. And I think that we either have to come to the realization here pretty soon that we either have a sign code and we stick to it, or we don't have a sign code, we just get rid of it, because this constantly staff time and changing it, I can imagine we're going to be back in court, and one of the things that are going to be used against us is that we have all these histories of groups coming forward and asking for amendments, and we amend our sign code for these groups. And I think we're getting really dangerous here of losing our entire sign code.
Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Julia. I guess my thing is I'm definitely, I've been pretty quiet, but definitely I'm pleased to see that we're not going to signs in the right-of-way, because I just don't think that makes any sense. There's good reasons for them not to be in the right-of-way. In terms of loosening our current sign code restrictions, to make them what I understand to be more liberal in residential areas, I think one of the things that I would ask staff to have conversation with the Builders Association representatives and the other folks who are there advocating is be careful what you've asked for, because it has to be content neutral. Whatever you're allowed, lots of other people can come in and do things that would not necessarily be what you may want your potential buyers to see coming into a neighborhood. And we cannot do anything about offensive content. And so I just think we need to be real careful about liberalizing the restrictions because of that content neutrality. So I personally am, if staff, I agree with Ron Schmidt. We've had this conversation over and over again. But if staff and legal wants to take one more look to see if there's any simple, really simple adjustments that could be made that meet the needs of an important segment of our community, that's fine. But I'm not going to be, if it comes back forward again, I'm not going to be for doing anything that is creating significantly more content-neutral signs in residential neighborhoods.
Okay, I would be looking for a motion.
Well, I don't know how to make one, but I'll try here.
Go for it.
And I hate the idea of these sign codes coming back and back and back, because we've been dealing with this for a long time and it never ends. So I would just like to make a motion that we give staff direction to look at this and see what they can do, the minimum amount. And if I don't see why we have to change anything, but come back with some suggestions for us, and if they work, they work. If they don't, they don't.
Do I have a second?
So are you doing number 3?
Option 3.
Option 3.
I'm not talking about the right-of-way.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Smith, seconded by Councilwoman Bybee. And again, I would rather that we took no action on this deal. Again, we're talking about the staff going back for the 15th time or whatever it is. I've been here for 15 years, and on and on and on and on, and we waste more time, and we'll come back with some things that are not going to make really any difference of what we're doing right now. So again, I would hope this wouldn't get supported, but we'll call for the question. Any further discussion, Mr. Lawson?
Well, I'm going to offer my house up for rental space for a sign. I back up to McCarran, about 45,000 cars go by it. But I'm willing to look at it. I'm willing to look at anything. And if it makes sense, then I'll be in favor of it. But I just see too many loopholes in this whole thing, and I hadn't even thought about the free speech issue of somebody putting up, rider homes that are no good, dirty rats, or any other political type speech that can go on those signs. So there's a lot to consider.
Well, if there's too many loopholes here, then let's forget about it and not take a look at it. Ms. Bybee.
I would support the motion, but I also want to be cautious with how much we liberalize the current code. I'm not saying we can go out and there's hundreds of signs allowed in every neighborhood. We're at 8 right now. So realistically, how can we help the builders out by expanding that without opening it so big that we wind up with a bigger problem in the end. And I don't know what that number is. I mean, I'm not a planner. I'm just thinking aesthetics. I'm thinking, like Julia said, we don't know if someone's going to put, signs up for tattoo or porn signs. I mean, we really don't. And we can't regulate that. So with caution, I support relooking at what we can do to expand it somewhat within reason.
Okay, seeing no further discussion,
I actually have a clarifying question.
Go ahead.
So I didn't hear Councilman Smith calling for initiating a code amendment, which is a pretty extensive process. Is that what you're asking for, Ron?
No. I'm asking them to look at what we can do. If it comes for a code amendment, they can let us know. We can talk about that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, the only reason I ask is when Ms. Bybee seconded the motion, she said, are you doing direction number 3? And number 3 does call specifically for staff to initiate a code amendment process. So I don't want to leave the impression that they're to walk out of the meeting today and initiate a code amendment process, because that could be pretty labor intensive.
No, I did not add that in.
Okay. Thank you, Julia.
Is that okay with the seconder?
Yes, it is, and I'm glad you clarified that. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Neil.
Well, I did have one question. Can we do it temporarily? Or is it, if we make any changes at all, is it permanent?
Well, I would think we would have some sort of
Give us some options on that.
expiration date on it.
Sunset it?
Sunset. But to the motion, a question about the motion, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Good.
I guess if I understand the motion correctly, you'd be asking staff to re-look at this and see what we might be able to do on terms of additional signage, temporary signage on private property, and then we would bring that forward, and then at that juncture, when we present that, then we would or would not get direction on initiating the code amendment.
Right. And all I want you to do is look at it and see what we can do.
Okay.
If there's anything we can do. If you come up with, we can't do anything different, or we don't want to, I want to know that. Neil?
Yes, Neil?
Thank you. Well, I was coming up asking for clarification because I didn't understand how we were supposed to look at making changes without doing a code amendment. But you have clarified that. You just want us to take a look and report back.
Right.
Okay.
Does not. That can be.
Actually, well, I would, inasmuch as we have already passed our own internal deadline for the next meeting functionally, first meeting in May would be our preference. That gives us just a little bit of breathing room to take a look around, make some phone calls, talk additionally to the builders, get their take on what they heard today as well, and come back to you at the first meeting.
It's got to be agendized 17 days before the meeting is
That's our internal deadline, yes, sir.
Anyone else? Questions? Seeing no further questions, I hope. Please vote. Was that aye, Ron? Ron Schmidt?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Julia?
Yes, that was an aye.
Mine was nay.
Okay, passes 4-1. Thank you, Julia. You were paying attention. I appreciate that. Okay, moving on to closed door sessions. We are going to have closed door sessions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Can I get a motion to that effect, please? To adjourn to a closed door session?
To adjourn to a closed door session?
Ivy?
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Smith, seconded by Councilwoman Bybee to move to a closed door session. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, before you
Oops,
close,
I'm sorry.
we're planning on an update only. There would not be any action, so it could be done upon adjournment of this meeting.
Right.
We could have a closed door and then be done for the day.
End of the day.
Not returning. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? All in favor say aye, or please vote. Okay, comments from the public? Seeing none, comments from the city council and city manager. Mr. Driscoll.
Mr. Mayor, I have some announcements. The following committee appointments are available. 2 appointments to the Sparks Civil Service Commission will expire on June 30th, 2015. Each appointment is for a 3-year term. 2 appointments to the Sparks Recreation Commission will expire on June 30th, 2015. Each appointment is for a 3-year term. 1 appointment to the Airport Authority Board of Trustees will expire on June 30th, 2015. The appointment is for a 4-year term. This one does have requirements, and those requirements for the Airport Authority Board of Trustees position include experience in aviation, business or tourism industry, experience in finance or accounting, or other qualifications that the appointing authority determines are necessary or appropriate for carrying out the duties of this particular board. Persons interested in serving on these committees should complete a community service application available from the city clerk's office. You may apply online at the city's website, www.cityofsparks.us. Click on City Services on the webpage, then click on Volunteering, Get Involved, then click on Fill Out a City of Sparks Volunteer Application. Applications will be accepted until the close of business on June 1st, 2015. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else comments? Seeing none, we're adjourned.